Good day. I'm back with you again. We're going to further Smokey's education today. You know, the last video about Smokey, I had been breaking him to ride, and we went roughly 50 miles every day of the week for almost 3 months. Well, toward the last of that, since I was wanting him to become a good ranch horse, all good ranch horses have to learn to work a rope. And so the last half of that, I would take my rope and I would play with him as I rode. I'd throw loops around his neck and down around his feet and let the rope bat up against his belly and all over him on his rear end. Not hard, not punishment, just so that it tapped him and he got used to the presence of the rope. You teach him to drag things behind you by letting the rope go out and run over his rump, or I would throw it out in front of me like I was roping a calf or something. And so we did that for until he was used to the rope doing it. And so you train a horse by using pressure and release. You put some kind of pressure on them, and when they release that pressure, that's the training that they learn from. And so since I wanted Smokey to be a good ranch horse and be able to work a rope, which means that he'll stand out there and look down a rope when you catch a calf or a cow, because back in those days we didn't have a lot of modern medicine, and sometimes we'd have to catch a cow out in the pasture and doctor her because she'd gotten a scratch or a cut, and sometimes you had to take care of that. So Dad had told me when he was young how he had broken a horse to work a rope by roping a cow and letting the horse learn on his own. So I thought, why not? I can do that. So I put the saddle on that morning and I cinched it up good and tight. I put a breast collar on so the saddle wouldn't move around much. And I took my lat rope and I tied the tail end of it to the saddle horn in what you call tying hard and fast. So it's a knot that won't come loose. I rode out in the pasture and I roped about a 1,500-pound bull. Now Smokey only weighed about 1,200, so the bull actually outweighed him. But I roped the bull and stepped off and went to the house. In later years, I felt bad about that and this story that I'm telling you, because I went to the house and it was about 2 hours before I came back out. But when I came out, Smokey was standing out there looking down a tight rope at that bull. But he had rope burns all over him, under his neck, on his face, under his front legs, and around his back legs. He had been jerked down and been drugged. The saddle was unbelievably dirty, but he was looking down the rope at the bull. So I took him and got it all undone, and we went to the house and I took care of him. But to tell you how effective that was, about 19 years later, when Smokey's 22 years old, I had to doctor a cow. And I rode out in the pasture and I threw the rope on the cow and stepped off and went down the rope to the cow. She had a cut and had some screw worms in it. Those are like maggots, and they eat the flesh, and I needed to doctor her. But when I stepped off of him, he put a tight rope on the cow and kept it there until I came back to him. So they learn well when they do some of those things that are hard. But that was Smokey's first really good roping lesson.